that when the police use excessive force, don't tell us that it won't become fatal if we don't speak truth to power and say this is not allowed. And so these lions of Cardinal Ritter are going to know that they have every right to expect the police to be professional and use de-escalation and use civility. I just don't even know what these parents are saying to these young men on the Lions football team when children ask questions, as they often do, about mama, daddy. What did we do wrong? Why did they pepper spray us? Why didn't they pepper spray the other guys who were pushing us too? Why is this fair? And the final thing I will say is what happened to coaches and administrations of the school handling situations with children on the football field. Why did the police have to come and over-police this matter against the predominantly black football team? I've heard from a lot of the civil rights leaders and people in this community in St. Louis saying this is racial profiling 101 in high school football that we get to see with our own eyes. And we will get justice for these mighty lions. These young people will know that they don't have to expect pepper spray when they deserve protection. And with that, we're going to have Attorney Sean Walton speak to you, and the lawyers are going to talk, and then the parents, and then we'll take your questions. Attorney Walton.
Thank you all for being here today. My name is Sean Walton of Walton & Brown in Columbus, Ohio, and I stand here representing the state of Ohio and the good people of Ohio to say that this is not how we operate. We apologize to those who have experienced this family, these families, these students. And once I got a phone call about what happened, I checked out the video, and I was astonished to see these officers of the law using force against children for no reason at all. And also to see those students targeted by those officers and to see the fear that was placed upon them in that moment. And so we began investigating, and we discovered that Massillon has a bit of a history of racial incidents, and unfortunately these students were subjected to that. And so our job is to make sure that these students understand that they're not standing alone, that they had the protection of the law as they should have had that night after their win. They were not able to celebrate. They had to go back in tears and facing terror. And learning more and more about what the students encountered, hearing those stories one by one, hearing the ongoing physical and emotional trauma that was suffered is just unacceptable. And so here we are today standing as a team, standing as a strong unit on behalf of the students of Cardinal Ritter, and we are going to get justice. We're going to get accountability. We're going to make sure that this is not something that is viewed as acceptable, but that this culture is not tolerated in this country. And so this is a flashpoint in our country's history right now where we have to come together because these are children. Children did not ask to be placed in this situation where they are here and they are subjected to this national news story, but the ongoing and the lasting story will be how we all came together as a community to fight for justice and to fight for these victims. Thank you, and I'll bring up next Robert Gresham.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming out. As Attorney Walton indicated, this isn't a one-time or one-off at this particular high school. Massillon, Washington, if it were a one-time overreaction, that would be bad enough. But unfortunately, this is a cultural issue. Over a year ago, this same high school had an issue where there was what they called horseplay in the locker room. Effectively, it was hazing where athletes were forced to strip and they were recorded. Prosecutor investigated that case and determined it just to be inexcusable, but no criminal charges were found. that type of leniency leads to a culture of violence. It leads to this type of culture that results in a case where children are treated with chemical reaction like they were in this case. That's unacceptable. And we're not going to allow that to happen in this case. As you look at this high school has a 46-year legacy of faith, a 46-year of academic excellence, and a 46-year culture that they're not going to allow to be diminished. And we're not going to allow that to be diminished. So we're going to hold Massillon, Washington accountable. Since the prosecutor a year ago couldn't do that, we're going to hold the police accountable, which is what we do in all these cases. And we're not going to allow this to continue, because these were children, and these parents sent their children to Massillon, Ohio, so they could play the sport that they love, where they thought they would be safe. But in reality, they were under threat. They were treated with violence, and they were changed forever. So we're not going to allow that to continue. Enough of the silence, enough of the injustice, and enough of the unethical behavior that was perpetuated on these kids. So at this time, I'm going to allow Anthony Pearson to come up and make some more comments.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I want to echo what the attorneys have said. But let's call this what it is. It's police violence. Mm-hmm. This is police violence against our children in our community. And that's unacceptable. I mean, this is a parent's worst nightmare. You send your kids off for an athletic event, for a sporting event in another state, and they get a horrific phone call where they're hours away, and they can feel only helplessness, that their kids are crying. And to make matters worse, the abuse didn't come just from the other team. The abuse came from law enforcement, police officers who are supposed to protect our children, to make sure that they are safe, especially children coming from a different community, a different state. Mm-hmm. This is unacceptable. Mm-hmm. My name's Anthony Pearson. I'm with Pearson & Pearson Law Firm, and with these other wonderful, skilled attorneys, we're going to make sure that the police officers are held accountable and that we speak for these young children who are not able to speak for themselves. And so I just ask that you all take a look at this incident. Take a look at what happened and ask yourself, was that okay? Was that necessary? Because if you do that, I'm certain you'll agree with us and the family that it was far too far. That this act of police violence was not okay, and we cannot stand by silently and allow it to continue. Thank you for your time.
Amen. And finally, you'll hear from the president of the local NAACP here, President John Bowman, a great leader.
Thank you all. Thank you for being here, and I'm proud to stand with these well-established and strong attorneys to represent our most treasured commodity in this community, the brilliance of our children. These young lions, they show the promise of our future, and they depend on us as adults to be their protectors. And that's what is coming together here today. They will not be disrespected or traumatized and treated less than human as they were under these conditions. So justice will prevail, and as a civil rights leader, we firmly believe in people being treated equally, and these students deserve the proper treatment as anyone else. So thank these attorneys and these family members for standing strong, because this is our future. This brilliance here, the young lions. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, President Bowman, for standing here with your citizens in your community. Now you're going to hear from the people who matter most, the parents of these young lions who are just troubled as anybody about how you answer the questions from your children. But one thing we do know, as all these great lawyers said, we're going to get justice for the young lions. We're going to get justice for the young lions. Why didn't they pepper spray the other team? Why was it only focused on their children? How would you feel if the police, as Attorney Nelson said, inflicted police violence on your children, using chemical agents on your children? where however you would feel, they too have the same feelings. They love their children just as much as you love your children. And with that, we're gonna hear from Ashley and Anise and Andre and Joanna. So, Ashley.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashley Ashburn. My son is one of the players, DJ Boone. He is a junior, 16 years old. And I just want to say that the families, we are still facing challenges today regarding this incident. My focus is on my son and his teammates on mental health, ensuring that they have the resources that they need to be able to get over this. As a community, we will stand together with our team, and just so the kids will see, like the lawyers previously stated, that we fought together to let them know that this is not okay, this is not normal, and what happened to them should have never happened. Thank you.
Justice for the young lions.
Justice for the young lions.
Hello, my name is Elise Shoemate. My son's Malik Taylor. He's a senior on the Cardinal Ritter football team. I would say I appreciate everybody being here and us standing together. The hardest thing right now, with them being a teenager, them not understanding what had happened, it's the mental capacity.
Can you talk a little louder?
Okay. The mental capacity, them having to speak with someone about their mental stability after this type of experience when they know they have done nothing wrong. So just the ongoing of them having to talk to therapists and make sure that they can go through life normally after something is done with this, when you've committed no type of crime. We just went out here to play football. So the ongoing thing is still a thing, and I just want justice for our boys because this is a longer process than one would know.
And that's such an important point she made, Attorney Walton. When you look at that video, most of these children were completely innocent. I think all of them were, but some of them didn't even know what was going on. They didn't push anybody, they just knew the crowd was moving, and then the next thing you know, you got the police pepper spraying them. I mean, look at the video. Andre.
Good afternoon. My name is Andre Main. My son AJ is a senior. He's on the National Honor Society, and he's been playing sports his whole life. We weren't able to be there in attendance, so we purchased a link. We purchased a link to view the game online, and everything looked normal to us. The game, we played sports. Everything that was happening at the moment looked normal. Shaking hands, congratulating, and moving on. But that, towards the end, that's not what happened. Seeing my son there, unable to protect himself, and me not being able to protect him. Him and all his teammates need to understand that this is not right. To be doing what you enjoy and following what they call all the right directions and still end up the way it end up is not right. And I'm going to always try to protect my son and do what's best for him as well as any other children that I get in touch with. It's unfortunate that it's a constant conversation of injustice with us, with kids, with people like my son, and we want them to understand that it's not going to happen anymore, because we're going to stand up for them until we get the justice that we deserve.
Justice for the young lions.
Justice for the young lions.
And now you will hear.
Well, I'll just make a statement as my husband. My name is Kimyata Main, and just going through the experience, watching the game once everything ended, being traumatic, we actually invited people over to watch the game with us, and I started screaming and paused the TV trying to figure out exactly where my son was on the screen and on the field to see if he was in danger. And I picked up my phone, frantically calling him over and over and over, and Andre had to tell me, you know, they're still on the field. But I just knew that if he saw all of my missed calls, once they did return to the locker room or on the bus, to get that call to make sure that he knew, even though we weren't there, that we were there for him as much as we could be. And to receive the call saying, Mom, they sprayed us, I don't know what to do, I'm so scared, was very traumatic for us, and just going on the path forward to figure out how to best help him in this situation is what we're trying to do.
Amen.
Thank you.
Justice for the young lions.
Justice for the young lions.
Joanna.
My name is Joanne Costablanco. My son is Gabriel Costablanco. Just like AJ, Gabriel has a 3.4 GPA. He's very active at our community. He serves on VBS. He's really active. And I was notified because I was here in St. Louis. He called me, and when I answered the phone, he didn't say mama. He was just crying. He was just screaming and crying and saying, Mama, what do I do? What do I do? And then he explained to me what happened, and I just immediately told him he needed to get somewhere and flush out his eyes. Thankfully, he still had on his helmet, so I'm sure he didn't get the blunt of as bad as it could have been. But still, that traumatic, that PTSD, because when he came home, he couldn't sleep. He wanted to come sleep with us, his parents, and of course, we obliged to that. And it's really hard for, you know, a 16-year-old to have that type of trauma. It's just, we just need accountability and justice for these kids.
Justice for the young lions.
Justice for the young lions.
Good afternoon. My name is Shay Bolden, and my son Dylan Shell is a 14-year-old that plays for Cardinal Ritter. He's a freshman, and we were there. Me and his father were there that day. We had just walked out and we heard all of the commotion going on, and we turned around to go back in, and we were looking for Dylan, and we saw him running off the field. I called his phone several times. He didn't answer. When he finally called me back, he was in tears. And just to hear him crying, Mom, I can't see, I can't see. And I told him, flush your eyes out. And he said that one of the coaches gave him milk and poured on his face. To get back home and to see him have to walk around in sunglasses because of the light sensitivity and his tear ducts being clogged, it didn't have to happen. It really didn't. Looking at the Instagram video, it looks like it was an altercation. It was no altercation. When you look at the commentator's video, why was only our team sprayed when it was the other team that was on our sideline? So I mean, it's difficult because the easy part for him is his sister is an officer of St. Louis County, so she's able to talk to him through it. But the trauma that he goes through every day, just worrying about, what do I do now? Should I be quiet? Should I not be quiet? How do I defend myself when I'm not doing anything? All I'm trying to do is play football.
Wow. Thank you. Justice for the young lions.
Justice for the young lions.
Are there any other parents? Now, hopefully you can hear the emotions in these parents when they talk about this traumatic experience. Attorney Walton, Attorney Nelson, Attorney Grisham, and myself, we're going to continue to appeal to the Massillon Police Department to do the right thing. But if they don't do the right thing, then we're prepared to do what we have to do to make sure that these children, our children, know that we will stand up for them and fight for them in any manner that we need to, whether that is filing of litigation or filing complaints with the state police and enforcement agencies in Ohio. And so with that, we'll try to take your questions knowing that these great Ohio lawyers can probably answer the questions that are most germane to the state of Ohio.
first of all, can you tell us what's Cardinal Ritter's response to all of this?
Well, we can't speak on behalf of the university. You can talk to them, but I think their principal has made a statement previously where they condemned what happened to their students during an athletic contest. I mean, you got to keep this in context. This was a football game. I mean, you look at that video and you say, my God, what happened for them to pepper spray them like that, to use chemical agents on children? And when you look at it, you say, no, there was no justification for this. So you would have to ask the school representatives of that question. Anybody else got anything on that?
Okay. Apologize if I'm misquoting you here.
Yes.
A while ago you said you wanted the police department to do the right thing.
Yes.
What is that in this case?
Step up and apologize and be professionals. I'll defer to my Ohio counsels.
Yeah. So I'll say that it's important to understand how these parents were treated in the aftermath. Several called, and they were told by folks who answered the phone at the police department that what happened was justified. And so, let that sink in for a minute. There's been no investigation. There's been no questioning of the officers, but they stood by the officers. And so the right thing to do is to stand by the people. These folks were citizens of this country that visited the great city of Massillon. And so our expectation is that they're treated as folks should be treated as decent human beings. And so to this point, that has not happened. Their children were treated like criminals. They've been treated as if they're wrong for asking for answers and insight into what happened and why it happened. And so our job is to investigate that department because obviously they can't do it themselves. And so to Attorney Crump's point, our hope is that they would come forth and say what happened here is under investigation at the very least, and ultimately at the end, what we all see is that it was wrong and that they come to that same conclusion. But if they don't, we'll do everything, we'll do all that we can to ensure that the truth comes out here.
Is there body camera footage of this incident that you're aware of from the officers that were on the field?
Our understanding is that there should be body camera footage, there should be stadium footage, there should be a lot of information out there. And so unfortunately, again, the police department has not done their part to help us gather that information. And so we're actively trying to investigate and find that footage.
So at this point, Stark County, where Massillon is, has done nothing from a prosecuting attorney's standpoint to investigate this?
Correct. I mean, again, the response was that it was justified and that that if the kids were pepper sprayed, that it was justified.
Are you filing anything in court, a lawsuit?
We're investigating, and we will explore every possible legal avenue to get justice for the young lions. We are very committed to making this be a teachable moment. Hopefully, they will admit that there were excessive force employed, that they did not need to do this. There seems to be a pattern in America when it's young people of color that police do the most versus the least intrusive thing that they could have done. And so we want this to be a teachable moment against excessive force, against racial profiling, and hopefully they will have better training. One of the things Attorney Walton and Attorney Nielsen and Grisham and us see far too often is that they don't follow their training, that they go outside of their training. And that is troubling because we don't see them go outside of their training on white citizens. It seems to be black citizens when they employ excessive use of force. And so, prayerfully, this could be a teachable moment for Massillon, Ohio, the state of Ohio, and everybody else who watched this terrible video.
Mr. Any clues as to what started this fight, or inkling, or has there been any conversation?
It wasn't a fight.
Yeah.
You want
to? There was no fight, so let's be clear on the facts. It's my understanding that there were some words exchanged between both sides. However, it's also my understanding that there was improper treatment toward these Cardinal Ritter students during the game. As the game was occurring, improper behavior that we'll get into at some point by the other team, by Massillon's team. And then officers got involved. From my viewing, there was no altercation happening at the time, and the officers just decided to use violence and spray the Cardinal Ritter players.
Do you think there was a role for police on that field at that time, or no?
Yeah, so what I'll say is that the players encountered a heavy police presence during the game on their sideline and their sideline only, and it's very curious as to why that was the case. Parents were informed after the fact that it's kind of a known thing that visiting teams should have security. And I think that's a problem when the youth are encountering situations that are not conducive to student athletes flourishing. And so, no, there was no need for a police presence. As was said, there's administrators, there's coaches, and there was nothing to cause the need for the use of force in that way. Any commotion that was taking place was actually already breaking up, and that's why you see one side being pepper sprayed and the other side already separated. So no, there was no excuse, and again, that heavy police presence during the game makes us wonder if this was something that was predetermined in the aftermath.
Sure. Can somebody answer whether or not, are there any students of color on this Massillon team?
I'm sure they are, but this was a predominantly black team here at Cardinal Ritter. And it seems to most of these parents that their children were racially profiled. Let me make a very important point, because they want you to accept the narrative that it was the black students who were being aggressive. Look at the video. They were on the sideline of Cardinal Ritter. So why were they over there? Why weren't they pushed back? Why was it Cardinal Ritter being pushed back? We can't accept the narrative to try to justify the unjustifiable act of using chemical agents on children. These are children. Those of you who have 14 and 15-year-olds, think about the police spraying pepper spray in their eyes and then telling you without any investigation it was justified. Would you accept that?
And we realize that you were in St. Louis, but we would ask you all to do your own investigation. Look into this school. Massillon, Washington, as I indicated earlier, this isn't their first time, this isn't their first rodeo. This is their culture. It's a culture of violence. So it's not just the police department, it's the school district, and it's the city as a whole. That's the type of culture they perpetuate. So don't take our word for it. Go back, do your research. You look into Massillon, Washington yourself. I realize it's in Ohio, but it's not hard to find. These parents and these leaders and these administrators over in that school district and in that city allowed this culture to persist. That's why we bring up the issue of the hazing that happened a year ago. When you allow that culture to go on, it's inevitable that it's going to continue, these things are going to continue to happen. And we're doing our investigation. We've uncovered a few things that have indicated that this probably wasn't necessarily something that just happened by happenstance, but that will all come out when it's necessary. But the reality is, we would ask you, and we do this oftentimes, is you guys help us out. You take a look yourself. Don't just take our word for it. Take into the facts yourself. And we think what you'll find is that you'll find a culture of violence in Massillon.
What my question was, I wanted to know, since the other team wasn't pepper sprayed, were they all white players?
We don't know, but you can find that out easily enough as well. Any other questions?
Aside from the obvious mental load this is on the players and the parents too, what about the physical side? One mother mentioned that the kid had his tear ducts still clogged up when he got home.
Yeah, we're talking about
Was
some
this
of
a
the
common trend
physical
amongst
impairments. No, it's a question we talked to the parents about some of the physical impairments that they have suffered from this excessive use of force.
Yeah, my
Talk
son
loud
has.
as you can.
My son suffers from clogged tear ducts, so it looks like he's getting ready to cry, but his eyes just fill up with water, but it never comes out.
Mine's is kind of similar. The only difference is my son didn't have a shield on, so that mace got there. So he went from not needing glasses to we have appointments set up to where either surgery is needed or he's gonna now have to wear glasses. He's 18. He's never had any eye trouble until now.
And Andre, you talked about respiratory issues.
Yeah, my son, luckily, he had on a visor, and many of these kids did. But even that wasn't enough. There's a lot of respiratory issues that he's been experiencing. We took him to a doctor last week, and a lot of these parents will be able to say the same thing, even though they weren't directly there, just getting sprayed out in a small confined area like this. Everyone here will be affected by it in some way, shape, or form. And that's pretty much the consistency that's going across, is whether I got sprayed or not, I'm still having issues, residual issues from that. And take out mental. I mean, this may be over in 3 months or 3 years for us, but this is going to go on with them for the rest of their lives, and take that out of it, where they're performing a lot of duties that require mental strength. They're playing sports. It takes a lot of mental strength to be able to do it, and to have that in the back of your mind that this may affect them 10 years from now is not right.
This is for all the parents real quick. This was supposed to be a game between two proud athletic programs. In a million years, would you ever thought something like this would happen when your kids got on that bus?
No.
This is what they do. They travel and play all the time. This is nothing new. Mine is a senior. I've never experienced nothing in this type of.
Have they played them in the past?
No, this is the first time. I mean, most of us played sports. I played sports my entire life, so did my wife and a lot of her family members, and it goes the same for us. This is everyone in Cardinal Ritter have some sort of connection, whether it's sports or just what they've learned from it, and it's unfortunate that they got to deal with this because they're all doing something that they love.
Thank you all very much. We will continue to keep you updated. Thank you.